everybody, my name is Kyle939. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, I'll be doing another tier list video, and in this one, I'll be doing it on meta decks post-January 2024 ban list, but pre-Phantom Nightmare. I'm not going to include Phantom Nightmare in this just because that's still a month away. I'll do another tier list once Phantom Nightmare does come out, so we won't include Phantom Nightmare in this, but I will include Maze of Millennia just because that comes out in 2 weeks, and I'm not going to do another video once that comes out, and that only really includes 2 cards, and that's Transition Rollback and Bonfire, and even then, like, Bonfire doesn't really get good until Phantom Nightmare. Anyway, so yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the video, shall we? So we're going to start off with Tier 1, and I think the first deck for me, it's still going to be Rescue, even though Airlifter did get limited, and that does do quite a lot. I still think this deck is very, very good still, just because, I mean, you still have the Wanted package to get you to your Hydrant, so Hydrant can just search the Airlifter, and then that's your normal summon. You can basically still get to the same combos and stuff like that. Assault is banned, so you can't really do that combo anymore in Rescue, but it's not like there's backup extra deck engines like the Cyber stuff you can do with this. Anyways, I still think it's a solid deck that you still have to worry about for the next format. It's very, very, very good still. Even though with Airlifter at 1 does somewhat hurt it, you still have Emergency at 3. Turbulence is still at, you know, all copies. You know, you still have Preventer and shit like that. I still think the deck is very solid right now. So I think this still belongs in Tier 1. Next thing up in Tier 1, I'm sorry to say it, I think it is Labyrinth. A lot of people might put this into like the 1.5 category, but I'm going to put it in Tier 1. This might be a little biased because I am playing Labyrinth right now, and I'm having so much fun playing Labyrinth right now. It's a really solid deck. Did not get any hits on the ban list. Like, none of its power traps got hit or anything. Transition Rollback is coming out very soon as well, which is going to help out the Labyrinth deck as well, being able to play through like Ash and Ghost Bell and shit like that, because they asked your big welcome on field. You got the Transition Rollback in graveyard, you're going to get that big welcome anyways to resolve. It's a very, very good deck. I think it is Tier 1. I think a lot of people are now going to be scared of Labyrinth just because it did not get hit on the last list and is getting futures, more good trap cards in the future as well. So very much Tier 1 in my eyes. Now on to 1.5. I'm going to put the Fire Kings in 1.5. I don't think it has the Tier 1 potential just yet. Maybe if we're talking post-Phantom Nightmare, it would probably be here, but pre-Phantom Nightmare, I'm going to put it in 1.5. Again, they're really pushing the fire stuff. That's why, like, Rescue is still pretty decent right now. You still have the Wanted package, which is very insane. You can, like, splash, like, Snake Eye stuff in here, or even, like, the Tri-Brigade line if you really want to. Just because, I mean, you don't really need your extra deck when it comes to Fire King, so you can throw, like, Nadir packages and stuff like that in there as well. The only problem with it I have is Droll, but like a lot of decks pretty much die to Droll now, so that is a problem. But I think the deck going second especially is very good just because it can board break a lot. Very, very decent deck. Again, we're talking post Phantom Nightmare, it's probably Tier 1, but pre Phantom Nightmare I think it's just 1.5 for now, but still a solid deck overall. Next thing up in 1.5, I'm going to put Manadium. Again, did not get hit at all in the last ban list, and it pretty much is still doing the same thing. Manadium is very, very good still, can run a lot of hand traps. The only problem I'm having with it is, again, a lot of people are now realizing Droll is a very good card and might be main decking that now. So that pretty much kills Manadium, but I think a lot of the Manadium players have now figured out that Droll kills deck. They probably have ways to play around Droll. Anyways, again, still a deck you have to worry about, especially, like, they're not even, like, Crimson Lock anymore. They're just going for generic end boards, which I think makes the deck better, just because, I mean, yes, Calamities is an FTK, but I think there is a better deck that's doing that. We'll get to that in just 1 second. So I think just going for, like, generic end board stuff is very good for Manadium to go for right now. Next thing up in 1.5, I'm going to put Purely. Just because I like the Sleepy hit makes it where, sure, it's not a guaranteed anymore off like My Friend Purely, but like you can still pretty much get to that. Like you just like do 2 Sleepy plus like a trap, or 2 Sleepy plus Delicious, and you're pretty much going to get to that Noir. Anyways, still a very, very solid deck. It is slowly creeping to Tier 2 in my eyes, just because I think a lot of people have just played against it enough where they know exactly how to hit it, especially like post sideboards and like Kaijus and like XYZ Encore. Just a lot of cards that just randomly out purely is like in the sideboard. So like game 2, game 3, it does get a little bit worse. But I think it's still a solid deck you're going to have to worry about. But it is slowly creeping to tier 2 in my eyes. But we will keep it at the bottom of 1.5 for right now. Anything else I want to put it in 1.5? Ooh, do I want to put Centurion up here? Okay. We'll put it in 1.5. We'll put it above purely just because it is... Okay, so the thing with Centurion is it is a one-card combo. All you really need is, like, the field... Or, no, you know, you need... What's the guy's name? I forgot what the name is of these cards. I was talking about, like, a month ago, and then I completely forgot about these cards. But it is a one-card combo, and it gets you to Calamities without playing into, like, Droll or whatever. So, like, it's very good, but I think the better version of this deck is you just splashing it into, like, Bestial Synchro kind of shenanigans and shit like that. That's where I think the deck can really do good, just being able to do the Bestial stuff, and then your Noble Summon being the Centurion to get you into the Calamity combo is very good. I still think it's a very decent deck you do have to worry about, especially since it is a one-card combo deck. So yeah, we'll keep this in 1.5 as well. I think that is it for 1.5 though. Let's get into tier 2. Tier limits. So I'm going to put it in tier 2 for now. This is weird because Yugioh Kelbeck did do a lot for this deck. It really did. That's why, like, it kind of somewhat falls off. But everything else is pretty much there. You can still just, like, play 3 Scream and then max out on the Rhino Heart. You still have the Horus engine as well, which gets you into, like, the Zombie Vampires if you need to keep milling and stuff like that. Like, the deck is theoretically still there. It's just maybe a little bit less consistent when it comes to milling because you no longer have a Yugioh or Kelbeck. You can't play Diviner as a normal summon anymore as well because what the hell are you going to send? A Shuffler? What the fuck is that going to do, right? So I think for now, we're going to put it at the top of tier 2. Maybe, you know, later in this format, it goes slowly creeping up once people figure out how to play this deck without a Yugioh Kelbeck. But for right now, I'm going to put it in the top of tier 2. All right, next thing up for tier 2, I'm going to put the Runic stuff. I think the Runic stuff has great potential for this next format. Like, obviously, the Bestial Runic deck topped the, or, you know, won YCS, I forgot, Bologna? Was it Bologna? I might be wrong YCS, but Joshua Smith won it with Bestial Runic, and it did not get hit at all in the ban list, right? So I think this is something you do have to worry about. The engine is very nice. I think a lot of people might be going to Runic now since, like, you know, the ban list did do a lot to a lot of decks. Maybe one of your decks got hit. Maybe you want to try the Runic stuff since it didn't get hit. I think this is a very decent engine in whatever. If this is like Runic Stun, this is like garbage tier because, you know, the floodgates just got hit. But if this is like just like Runic as a engine, like Bestial Runic or like Sprite Runic or something like that, I think it has very good potential in tier 2 for right now. What else do I want to put in tier 2 here? I was just talking about Sprite. I mean, they just got started at 3. I mean, that's pretty decent, right? But like, it's still one of those decks, like, it's cool, it's very nice, it just doesn't seem like it's doing enough right now. But like, it's still a very decent deck that you do have to worry about in this next format. Just because, again, this format is still going to be like last format where it's still going to be somewhat diverse, right? Even though like we have a clear idea what we think will be the top decks, you still have to worry about the bottom decks. It's still going to be somewhat of a diverse format, especially since the ban list didn't really do that much. But yeah, I think Sprite in tier 2 is perfectly fine. Anything else I want to throw in tier 2? I don't know, branded is cool. I mean, like, I don't think it's the best. Like, it's cool. I think the Chimera stuff is better than the branded stuff, so we'll put the Chimera stuff above branded. But, like, they're both not doing that much right now, and I don't really think that's going to change that much either. But I think this is decks you still have to worry about, like, if you go to locals or if you go to, like, regionals. This is still, like, a deck you might have to verse when it comes to that. So we'll put this in tier 2. Again, I think the Chimera stuff is better than the branded pure deck, so we'll put the Chimera above that. But again, I think they're tier 2 decks. And then there's anything else I want to throw in here? I don't think so. Oh, well, okay, sorry. Dragon Link. Dragon Link is always a deck that we have to worry about as well. We'll put it like there. Like, it's still a decent deck, especially with the Bestials as well. It's always something that it just never dies, right? You're always going to have to, you know, it's always going to be in the meta, but I don't think it's going to be up here. I think it's tier 2 for sure. Now let's move on to Rogue. Dark World, I mean, it's always just a rogue deck for me, especially since it dies Droll. A lot of people might be moving towards main decking Droll now, so that, like, hurts the Dark World even more. So, like, I mean, it's still a decent deck when it's able to go off, but if it's not able to go off, then it's a pretty shit deck. So, again, this is rogue at best, especially sometimes, even though you're playing without going through Droll, sometimes the deck just bricks on itself and you just can't do anything, right? So, I think this is fine at rogue. Unchained. I'm sorry. If you're an Unchained lover, I am sorry. It is over. It's over. I'll put it like the top at rogue because it maybe has potential in post Phantom Nightmare, but right now it's a dead deck. One Shavara hurts the deck so much, like you unbelievably hurts the deck so much because now you don't have access to multiple level 6s in the deck, so it makes it harder to get to the DDD rank 6. Again, it's a cool deck. I really do. Maybe like you play like going second versions of the deck now, but like going first, I don't think it's enough. I think as an engine, it could be pretty cool. Like Labyrinth Unchained could be pretty cool, but as a pure deck, I think the Shavara limit does so much. Like Shavara had to do so much lifting in that deck, and now it at one, especially like going second as well, not being able to hard draw the Shavara is going to be harder to play through board. So I think it is over. I think it goes to the top of rogue. Flunder, it's always going to be a deck that you're going to have to worry about. This is maybe like tier 2. We'll put it at the bottom of tier 2 because it is Flunder. It's always a deck. It's never been hit, right? So like, yeah, this is probably fine in tier 2. Orcust, I love that Orcust come off, and I love Harpor is back, but I don't think it's going to be doing that much for this next format. Maybe you play some dumbass shit with like tier limit and stuff like that, but I think as like a deck, like a Horus Orcust deck, I don't think it's really going to be that great, especially since, you know, the Bestials exist, right? So that's going to be a problem that it's never faced before. So I think it's a rogue deck. Vanquish Soul, it's Vanquish Soul. Like, I don't know. I've always been a hater on Vanquish Soul. I honestly never thought this deck was that good. And now there can only be one is at 1. So it just got worse. So yeah, I think this is probably fine at rogue. Rika Sun Avalon, I don't know. I think like you can still pretty much still do combos with one healer, one Dryas. But like it's not that great. It was slowly like moving down the tier list before the ban list. Now post ban list, it's for sure here. Maybe post Phantom Nightmare gets, because the new Arrow Mage stuff is coming out and stuff like that, but pre Phantom Nightmare, it's definitely rogue. Tri-Brigade is cool. I will give it that. Like the Tri-Brigade Sprite versions or the Tri-Brigade Fire King versions are cool, but I think if it's a pure deck, it's rogue. Virtual World, I don't think this is a real deck at all. Like obviously this is here because Transition Rollback is coming out, and this deck can excel in making rank 6s, which can get you into Beatrice, and Beatrice can just dump Transition Rollback and something like the Mayakashi trap card to lock your opponent out of playing the game. But I honestly just don't think this is that much of a real deck right now. But it is something you're probably going to have to see just because Transition Rollback is a powerful card. Sky Striker, the reason why I have Sky Striker here, I'm going to put it in rogue, is because, I mean, they just put Mind Control to 3. They put Upstart to 3. Like, they gave it a shit ton of spells it can work with. So, like, making it going second Sky Striker versions got better because you have Mind Control. You have Snatch Steal as well, surprisingly. Even though that's not that great, you would rather play Mind Control in this deck. Still something, but I still think it's going to be rogue. And then, of course, Exorcister. It's always been a rogue deck, and I don't think it's going to change whatsoever. I honestly don't think there's a garbage deck. I think every deck can pretty much do something, but I don't think there's really that much of a garbage deck. So yeah, that is my tier list. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.